Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
3 minutes ago, Republican Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana asked a question. It was just one question, but that question caused Kash Patel to become completely shocked and tense. In a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, which was broadcast live and watched by thousands, Kennedy looked Patel in the eye and asked in a cold tone, "Director Patel, did Donald Trump give you an order to destroy the Epstein files?" The salon suddenly came to a complete standstill at this question. No sound came out, and the journalists dropped their cameras. As senators looked at each other in astonishment, Kash Patel stood there for 6 seconds with his mouth half open, as if he were about to say something, unable to say anything, as if frozen. I must tell you that this moment was one of the most tense 6 seconds in American political history, because this question wasn't asked by a Democrat, it was asked by a Republican senator, and this senator is from Trump's own party. And at that moment, the hall split in two. This wasn't like the accusations coming from the left, he came from within the party. I must say this right away, what happened this morning had an earthquake effect in Washington. A party questioned its own leader. And if you also want to understand what this division means and what's behind these questions, watch this video until the end, because the documents in John Kennedy's possession deeply affect not only Patel, but also the White House. Now I'm going to tell you the video from the beginning so you can learn the events from the very start by continuing to watch. January 25, 2026, 10 a.m. The Senate Judiciary Committee convened for a hearing on the FBI's Epstein files. But this wasn't an ordinary hearing. The salon was full. The press was full. Even C-SPAN put this broadcast ahead of their main program. Because after the events of the previous weeks, everyone was wondering what's behind the Epstein files. Who was responsible? Kash Patel, as usual, seemed to be in control. The suit is spotless, his tie is straight, 5 lawyers with him. But close observers noticed something. Patel seemed to want to go outside, constantly looking toward the door. First, the Republican senators spoke. The first 3 hours were progressing quite normally. Ministry of Justice budget, counter-terrorism operations, border security. Patel was answering every question comfortably. Republican senators supported him. Democratic senators directed criticism. Everything was proceeding normally in a standard fashion. Until it's 13:47. The committee chairman gave the floor. The Honorable John Kennedy from Louisiana. And here I need to tell you something. John Kennedy is not just any Republican senator. This man was like a trap setter. He has one of the sharpest minds in Louisiana. He was a graduate of Harvard Law School. He worked as a lawyer for years. He has a folksy way of speaking, asking questions as if he wants something from you. But every good deed is actually like a stab in the back. Experienced Washington observers learned one thing. When John Kennedy asked in a friendly way, a dangerous trap lay beneath that cloak of friendship. And today, Kennedy only had 2 things before him, a notebook and glasses. Patel was one of the people who knew him best because they were friends, at least by Washington standards. Kennedy was one of the senators close to Trump. When Patel saw Kennedy take the floor, he felt relieved because someone was finally speaking on his behalf. "Director Patel," Kennedy said, his voice friendly, "I will ask you very simple questions. Very simple. It's as if we're just talking at home." Patel nodded with a small smile. "What approach is the FBI taking regarding the public release of the Epstein files?" "Senator," Patel said, his voice relaxed, "we are committed to full transparency. We disclosed 8,200 pages of documents. This is a very important step in hearing the voices of the victims." "Great," said Kennedy. "That's wonderful. And the files that are not open to the public? What will you say about them?" Patel felt comfortable. These questions were easy for him to answer.
Some files are classified for reasons of national security and ongoing investigation. This is a standard procedure. Of course, Kennedy said, nodding his head, then paused to adjust his glasses. The hesitation was noticed by experienced senators, because we knew that when Kennedy hesitated, the questions and words to come would become dangerous. "Director Patel, I would like to ask you something, and I need your answer to be extremely careful." Patel's smile suddenly disappeared. "Did you have any communication with the White House regarding the classification of the Epstein files?" The first link in the trap began with this question. Patel reached for his glass to drink some water. "Senator, the FBI is an independent institution. Classification decisions—" "Is the answer yes or no?" Kennedy interjected sharply. But his voice was still friendly. This is his most dangerous state. Patel paused. "There is routine coordination between multiple institutions." "Routine?" Kennedy repeated. "So if you received a direct instruction, would that be considered routine for you?" This question was like a bomb, but a bomb that exploded slowly. One of Patel's lawyers leaned forward and whispered something to Patel. "Senator," Patel said carefully, "I'm not here to detail every communication." At that moment, Kennedy read something from his notebook. "I'm going to tell you about a very specific date, October 29th, 2025. On this date, you spoke by phone with the White House National Security Advisor. Is that right?" It was clear from Patel's face that he was panicking. I talked to a lot of people. Yes or no, Director?" "Yes," Patel said slowly. "We talked." "And what did you talk about in that conversation?" "The content of this conversation is confidential." "No," Kennedy said, and his voice was sharp for the first time. "This conversation is not private, because I know that conversation. If you also want to see how far this investigation will go, you can follow the situation by subscribing to our channel. This story doesn't end here. We're continuing." Kennedy slowly pulled out a piece of paper. "This is a summary of the coordination records between the White House and the FBI, dated October 29th, 2025. He was officially summoned by the committee. I'm reading. FBI Director Patel told the National Security Advisor that certain individuals mentioned in the Epstein files should not be brought before the public. The consultant made a clear recommendation to the director in this regard." End of quote. The salon became even quieter. "Director Patel," Kennedy said, "did the White House National Security Advisor tell you to hide certain individuals?" Patel raised his glass, his hands trembling. "Senator, this recording is taken out of context." "What's the context?" Kennedy's voice is calm, but every word is getting heavier and heavier. "Give me context. Who are these certain people?" Patel couldn't say anything. Kennedy pulled out the second document. "Let me say this too, because I read that too." Kennedy held up a piece of paper. "This is the FBI's own document, titled Director's Instruction, Epstein File Classification Revision, dated October 29th, 2025. Let me read. As per Director Patel's instructions, the following individuals named in the Epstein investigation files will be removed from witness statements. Senator Richard Hayes, CEO Thomas Whitmore, hotel group owner Victor Kane." End of quote. Every name was literally a bomb. 3 names, Director. 3 people were excluded from witness statements. While their names were erased, the lines belonging to the victims remained intact. The victims were deprived even of their names. They were only recorded as Witness A and Witness B. Kennedy pulled out the third document.
Director, I'm going to ask you the most important question now. The entire hall was literally holding its breath, watching the speeches. Looking directly into Kennedy Patel's eyes, he asked the following question. Did Donald Trump instruct you to conceal these names? Patel couldn't say anything for 6 seconds. 6 seconds is an eternity on television. In 6 seconds, American viewers saw an FBI director collapse. Patel wasn't saying a word. What's the answer, Director? Kennedy said, his voice now devoid of any warmth. Yes or no? Patel's voice was muffled as he said, Senator, I cannot share matters that are currently under investigation with the public. This is not an investigation. Kennedy's voice rose for the first time throughout the hall. This is a congressional hearing, and I'm asking you directly, did the president want these names hidden? Patel's lawyer jumped to his feet. Mr. President, this question is a constitutional matter between the executive and legislative branches. Sit down, said the president. The lawyer sat down. Kennedy looked at Patel again. Director, I'm offering you an option. Now tell the truth here or face charges of complicity from the Senate for your silence. I'm stopping here because this moment is perhaps the most critical turning point. If you don't want to miss what happens at this point, press the like button on the video. This clip is being shared every place, but we're providing the real details. Patel turned to his lawyers. A long look. The lawyer made a small head movement. It means no. Patel turned back to the senator. Senator, he said, drawing out each word, I cannot confirm that the president gave a direct instruction. You said, I can't verify that, Kennedy repeated. So you didn't want to verify. So your answer is yes, but you don't want to say it. That's not what I said. So, no? Kennedy's voice is calm, but with a tense tone in the tense moment. Didn't the president want these names to be kept secret? Patel said nothing again. Kennedy produced the final document bearing official seals. These are phone records from Mar-a-Lago in October 2025 between the FBI headquarters and the White House. He was summoned again by the committee. And in these records, it shows a 23-minute call between Mar-a-Lago and your office line on October 27, 2025 at 9:14 p.m. Kennedy turned the page.
48 hours after this search, on October 29th, you spoke with the White House National Security Advisor. On the same day, Epstein's files were revised, and on October 30th, 3 names were removed. Kennedy closed the file. Mar-a-Lago search, National Security Advisor's directive. Then it's deleted. This is a chain, Director, and the head of this chain is at Mar-a-Lago. These conversations exploded like a bomb in the hall. Journalists ran and cameras zoomed in on Patel. Republican senators looked at each other, and it was clear from their faces that they were in shock and panic. Democrats tried to raise their voices, but Kennedy spoke before them. Director Patel, I am a Republican. You supported President Trump and so did I, but I'm sitting here and I didn't get an answer after asking you. But that's a sufficient answer for me. Kennedy stood up and said, Mr. President, I have a proposal. Full records of all telephone communications between Mar-a-Lago and FBI headquarters should be provided to this committee. The White House National Security Advisor should be called to testify, and the Ministry of Justice should investigate all names in the chain, including the president. I support it, said another Republican senator. 2 Republicans supported this proposal. The suggestion was accepted. Patel spoke with his lawyers and said nothing. He packed his belongings, he left the room. Within 2 hours, #DidTrumpOrderIt became a worldwide trend. Within 4 hours, the White House said, we are not commenting. But this time, it wasn't just a strategy to win the war. This was fear. Within 6 hours, the first part of the Mar-a-Lago phone records was leaked. The 23-minute search on the night of October 27th. There's a recording, and there are sounds on the recording. Within 8 hours, the National Security Advisor stated, I will not testify,
and this sentence marked the beginning of a new investigation in Washington. Within 12 hours, 2 Republican senators held press conferences. On behalf of our party, they must be held accountable, they said. And Kash Patel, alone in his office, was repeatedly pondering a question, the one Kennedy had asked. He should have answered, but he couldn't answer, because every answer was taking him somewhere. If we say yes, we expose the president. If we say no, we're lying. If we remain silent, everyone will already know the answer. And you know, even silence is an answer. If you also want to stay updated on every step of this investigation, share this video. Tell your surroundings. This story isn't just our story. This is the story of the country. John Kennedy asked a question. Kash Patel couldn't answer, and in 6 seconds, everything changed for America. Because some questions don't need an answer. It only listens to silence.